some of the issues we had raised before we can have new speakers. So I really don't want to do a Q&A right now, but I'd just like to get more feedback, especially from the speakers that were there earlier on, as we welcome new speakers. Wanjiru, your mic is on. I don't know if you have something you want to add to the talk.
Yes. No, I just kind of, I'm in that habit of bringing people back together to the table. You know, you've seen how I operate. So, Kumbukeni, I would like you to just briefly mention which are those groups that we have already agreed upon, and why do we have them, and what purpose are they playing in the entire movement to get Ruto out tomorrow?
Sawa. I like accountability. Unaona Wanjiru, accountability group. Wacha nikwambie. Haya basi. Threat team group. The threat team group is going to be analyzing all the threats that Kenya is facing internally and externally. We're going to come up with a list, see how they're affecting our government and our progress, and then come up with solutions on what we need to do to counter the threats. Coordination of operations is going to be coordinating the different groups, bringing back messages, updating each group. So, for example, you come into this group, you're working with the Gen Z. Wanaitwa nini tena? Ni Gen X ama ni Gen Z? Gen Z. Unajua mimi
unataka kukunze. Sawa, let's start please.
I usually intentionally decline Western language and terms that they use to manipulate us. So please forgive me.
Kumbukeni, you're actually right. The way these terms, Gen Z, boomers, and all that, they don't really apply in the African context.
They're not ours. They're not African.
They're not
I don't know why we follow along with the way of talking.
Because if you look at boomers, for instance, boomers are people who were born after Second World War, which means walikuwa na too much time ya kufanya mechi wakazana wengi. So in African context, some of us never experienced that. So you really,
we just go along like we don't.
But Duju, surely, what were Africans doing when these other people are coming from World War II? But it's all right. Let's continue with the story.
But Africans, quick history lesson. Africans were involved in the World War II. You have a lot of Kenya Land and Freedom Army, erroneously known as Mau Mau soldiers, who've admitted that they were sent there. But guess what? When they opened their mouth to say, let's get paid, they were beaten. Some of them were killed. They were treated like slaves in those wars. So yes, we were very much a part of those wars, but they had nothing to do with us as far as who was running the show. And I agree with you. So hii business ya kujita maninio majina za Western, Gen Z, na mnafuata tu kama blind people. Tunajita Gen Z and we have a name.
Sasa tujite nini jamani? Tujite Goda. Sawa Goda, wase wa Goda, generation Goda.
Vijana. We have words in our languages. Imwana, vijana, ati Gen Z.
So actually if you look at our current Gen Z and Gen Alpha, I believe, those who are below 25 years old, and in the African context, there should be a term. Because other societies, Europeans, have not had such a boom like we have had in Africa. And so there is a missing term for Africans there, so that we can actually, kind of like the boomers, separate what has happened in Africa. Because right now in most European countries, Asian countries, there is a decrease in population, and even birth rate has gone down. But in Africa, it has gone up. And that is not even being considered. Just FYI.
Maybe propaganda group is another one. We haven't yet set it up, but let's see. People in the chat, let us know. Do we need a propaganda group, counter-propaganda group? Hiya, Basi.
That's the first taker, actually.
Right? Threat team, coordination operations. So they'll be going back and forth between the different groups and coordinating, updating everyone so that we are all on task and on the same page. IMF, economics, we have a very eager person who wants to be a part of it. I am not going to throw them under the bus. So those people will be dealing with economics, political education. Clearly, we have a group, Wananchi, who don't know what's going on, right? Most of us are not informed about how our government works. Most of us are not informed about the history, the colonial history that is still very much a part of today. That will be that group. And they'll be basically organizing. They look at the situation that we have now, and then they'll organize how to move forward as far as educating Wananchi. Food security, agriculture, etc. I think that one goes without explaining what that is. This group needs to fight GMOs. This group needs to fight the policy that is penalizing, preserving, and sharing original seeds, and making sure that we are not dependent on foreign, imports for food. But we're back to growing our own foods, and we have our grandma's granary back. And then there's fact-checking. Another eager participant of that group is here with us. Those people will be looking at the news like we had just now that Ruto's child has been assigned a role in defense. They'll be confirming that for us so that we're not just repeating anything that we see online. And like I said in the chat, please suggest any more groups that, as we continue to have discussions, you think should be had. Asante.
Question, Kumbukeni, just for housekeeping purposes as well. So we're building all these groups. Now, the findings that they come up with, how is that communicated to the rest of the world or Kenyans all over the world?
Coordination operations, that will be their task. Let us know how that will be. I know someone, by the way, who was here before, who did a presentation in one of the other rooms, a great presentation on data collection. I'll be reaching out to that person to suggest that they join that group. But that is the group that, for me, unless someone else sees another group that should handle that, coordination of operations is the group that will be doing that. When we have findings and we are releasing, they're the ones to, oh, you know what, maybe press? I don't know. What is the suggestion? What do you all think?
I think press is a better idea to have. We have our own press people who, when they push something as far as hashtag this and that, we are all able to jump on it because we know these are the true press people that are actually there for us. So,
should press be the same as fact checking? Because it sounds like those two functions are aligned.
Well, they have to closely coordinate, but the fact checkers ideally will be sieving through the outcoming or incoming news and allegations to really get into the nitty-gritty of it, whereas the press has to come and now report this is what has happened, this is our findings, and blah blah blah. But yeah, they will definitely have to coordinate closely.
Media distribution, I will put it up, Asanteni.
Kumbukeni, you have forgotten the legal.
Oh, okay, legal.
And you've also forgotten, we talked about a tech team. Tech team.
Oh yes, that one had already been started by Gen Z. Asante sana.
Yes, we also spoke about those people who cannot go to the front line of the war. We need online activists as well to counter all the propaganda and all the news and fear that's being propagated so that we can have a critical mass of people just making sure that we are constantly trending.
So legal, say them one more time. There are three of them. Please say them one more time.
There's legal, there's tech team, there was online activists. There's another one that we spoke about that's a big issue of concern in the movement because of the hijacking by the goons was the issue of security during
defense.
Yes, security.
And security.
Defense and security. Yes, defense and security also during the mandamanos. How are we going to counter that?
But just in general, too, to protect people, if we can protect people in their homes, let them know they're being pursued and all that. Asanteni, hide them in our homes. Listen, this is a revolution. This is not a game.
So another housekeeping thing, Kumbukeni, I just want to, if this press team can be on standby 24/7, because the information warfare that we're dealing with is on another level. I think you and I have talked about it on the side. We need these people to be able to respond ad hoc and saying the right things at the right time quickly, because we give them a space of 2 hours, then it's like we have 1,000 yards to catch. So we need them to be on point, responsive, on all platforms at all times, monitoring from TikTok to what is the message the government is putting out there that is wrong, that needs to be countered, that needs to be responded to ASAP. So if we can have them on standby 24/7, they're reachable. We know who they are. When they post something and they ask us, guys, retweet this, send this to your Instagram, to your Facebook, to everybody, to your lawyer, to your mayor, to your father and mother, we do it. Thank you.
I'm putting the link in the chat now. If Mizani, you can pin it at the top. Yes, go ahead and submit your applications to that form and pick the group that you want to be in. We definitely need the press one right now.
Thank you very much. And that now has actually been able to bring to account what exactly we're dealing with as we have this conversation. If you missed out on the part one, you can always go via Brief Scoops account. The first recording is available for listening as we continue with this talk. I am very active on other social media platforms, especially WhatsApp, where most of my fellow Gen Zs are, says Wangare Joroge and anti-vocative. Wow, you guys should find easier names. Kuna mpango gani wa Sabasaba? The Nation Tradition Day of Rage is coming. They should believe, says anti-vocative. And actually, now that you've mentioned, and before I allow other speakers with a lot of respect, we had proposed as Mizani that this Sabasaba Day should completely stop being a spotlight for the politicians. Kenyans have died, mothers have lost their children, children have lost their parents, parents have lost their, their loved ones in every other spectrum you want to look at it. Why don't we convert Sabasaba, especially this year, from political spotlight to a day that Kenyans can gather in one mega concert of music and just voices of protest without any other thing except music and creative pieces? You can do that, you can push for that, and that can be done with everyone on board. But that's an idea for you guys to jump on. For now, let's go to Albert.
And with that idea, I'm going to include mental health and wellness. That's another group.
I am umesikia. So this is a whole complete government running on its own. We don't need more ministers, actually. Albert, then we'll have Africa, then we'll have Jackie, in that order.
Okay, Mizani, thanks much for the opportunity. I think the strategy here is...
Albert, kindly use handset free. It will work better. We are struggling with your audio, please.
Okay, am I clear now?
Awesome, go ahead.
Okay, I think the strategy is working in as much as we want to regroup and all this kind of stuff. There is just one important part that I want to stress on that has been brought up also in the group. Communication. As we have a press team, we have people who counter propaganda, but in the digital era today, how you communicate that matters a lot. So we need creatives that can put out word in a viral way. And that is the most important part. You communicate in an effective way. There is a reason as to why people watch more cut videos than informative or scientific information. It's because the way in which they are conveyed. So we need a team that is quite creative. I would think about the graphics team, for example, those who do animes or things like that, things that catch the eyes. And that needs to be done professionally. Our younger people today are quite creative with these things. So we need to put it the way, the TikTok algorithm way. Something short, quick, but brings the eyes. Yeah? I think that is a very important point that the press team can bring. If they can merge in with the people that counter and the fact-checking team, that would be great.